She sells seashells on the seashell. The seesaw. She sells seashells on the seesaw. Hello, this is Sophie Lawson from sophielawson.com, and this is another video. This is actually the second video about learning Procreate, but it's the first week of studying, and I've been studying from the book Beginner's Guide to Digital Painting in Procreate, which is an art book by 3D Total Publishing. And I've got to say, so far this art book is brilliant. There are a few little things which are, let's say, out of date, because Procreate's obviously been updated since this book came out. This book is only a year old, but it sort of shows how much Procreate evolves, I suppose. So there's a few little things which are a bit different, but for me so far, if the rest of the book is as good as this first bit, so far I've got through to page 35. If the rest of the book is as good as this is going to be amazing. So as a complete beginner, I'm a complete and utter beginner with Procreate. I've learned so much in this past week. So what I'm going to do on this video is, I will go through the book very quickly, just showing the sort of things that the book's talking about. I'll go through my main notes, my study notes, which I've taken throughout the last week, but I'll also go through my iPad and show some of the things I've been doing. But what I'm really going to do is, as I've been working each day, if something's come up, if let's say the book has told me to do something and I've sort of thought, I don't know what I'm doing here, I've just wrote down, I don't know what I'm doing here. Or if it tells me to do something and I think that's amazing, I've wrote down it. So I'm going to go through this really and just explain things. So this first one is going to be a bit messy. I think this video will be a bit messy, this first one. But as these go on over the weeks, they're going to get more and more structured. And I feel like that's a bit like where I'm at the moment. Studying Procreate at the moment, it is a bit messy because it's so new. There's a lot of things to take in. Can you hear my seat? Sounds a bit like you're farting. Little Peter the penguin's with us, and have a look at this. Look what's happened. He's got a little baby. How cool is that? Little Peter's baby. He's got a little Peter the penguin baby. So those two are going to sit there and do that. So what I'll do is, I'll start here. So today is the 7th of August. I started studying on the 1st, so it's basically a week. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to record these videos on a Saturday, but release them on a Wednesday. So they're a little bit later than thingy. This is also a little quiz I've been doing. So what I've been doing is, my seat's making funny noises today. What I've been doing is, because so far there's been a lot of things to learn, like gestures. So there's these gestures in Procreate to do things. As I've been learning them in my notes, I've set myself little quizzes. So I'll go through that in a minute as well. Like for instance, it tells me how to bring up the copy paste menu. What you've got to do is get 3 fingers and go down like that. But the thing is, what I've noticed is, you can read about it, you can practice it straight away and you might know it, but the next day you might actually forget it. So what I've done here is, I've basically wrote down a load of things, and a couple of days later I come back and I say, right, do I really know how to bring up the copy paste menu? And if I do, I tick it. If I don't, I have to cross it and I have to relearn it, and I keep doing this until I can do it without thinking. So I've done that with that, and I've got another one here. Like this is all about brushes, manipulating brushes and stuff. So the first one was pretty much just gestures. The first little quiz I set myself was gestures. The next one is more about like brushes and stuff like that, because that's actually where I've got to now, is the brushes. So here we go, look, watch this. Right at the start, the first thing I noticed was getting comfy takes time. It took a long time for me to get comfortable. I sat down to do my studying and I noticed I was getting distracted, I suppose, by lots of things. Like the seat wasn't in the right position. I needed to pull the curtains because there was light coming in. and I was just getting distracted, and I thought to myself, I think this might be actually procrastination. So in the end, what I did was, on my Kindle, I've actually got this. What I did was, I've had this for about 5 years now. I created a massive 15-hour long white noise MP3. That's what it sounds like. It's just like that. So if you put your headphones in, what that does is it helps me focus. So I use that at night time. It helps me sleep, not get distracted by outside noises, and I've actually been using that now while I'm studying. So I noticed that was brilliant. When I put that white noise on, I can focus on studying. Nothing in the outside can distract me, which I thought was quite cool. You can see here, these are some of the things I've been doing. I've been doing a lot of things, but none of it is it's not pretty things. It's more just like practicing things. I'll get into all that in a minute. Also, I wanted to talk about, can you see how all over the place this video is? But this thing here is a little book stand. So what I do is, when I'm studying, I've got my book up here like this. So I can I can read the book and draw. And it doesn't hurt me back. The thing is though, now this bookcase, this book stand is brilliant. Apart from one thing, I've had to put these little bits of sponge in here, so that when the book's on it, it's slightly raised. I'll try to show you. It's slightly raised, like this. You see? Because what was happening was, when these weren't here, what was happening was, as I turned the page, can you see, look? Watch this, look. Look, the page was sort of rubbing against that, and it was starting to, too often, it was starting to sort of damage the page. So I thought, if I put these here, what happens now is I can do that. It doesn't. So I know it's a bit weird. I know it's a little sort of thing, but little things like that you don't know until you actually sit down and start doing things, whether things are actually going to work or not. But that is brilliant. I love that. It's just I feel like what they needed to do was actually have that coming down a bit. I don't know if you noticed, but it's going up a bit, which means the paper actually rubs against the thing. I might try and loosen it or something, but I definitely recommend one of those as well. Right, the foot, I'll put here, look, I like the glove. So this here, I love this. I wasn't sure if I was going to like that, but I really do like it. It's brilliant. And also, what I like about it is, when you put that on, it feels a bit like you're putting on a uniform. So it almost feels like you're sort of, a bit like when an artist puts on an apron. It's almost like you're getting, or when you put on your work uniform, it's almost like you're getting yourself into working. That's what this feels like. When this is on, it means it's drawing time. So I kind of like that, but it does actually help me a lot, or at least it feels like it does. So I'll put here, the book is colour coded. I love this. Each of the chapters is colour coded. So this bit here is blue. This bit here is like orangey. This bit's like green, and I like that because it means everything's just sort of squished together like that. But what it was doing was, I could sort of sit here and say, right, today I'm going to try and focus on this. And if I had, say, an hour left and I got to the end of this and it went on to that, the blue bit, I'd say, right, I'm going to do the blue bit tomorrow and spend the next 30 minutes practicing the things I've been learning. So the colour-coded thing, it just helped me structure my week, I suppose. The book is also full of these little art tips, like this one here, look, rotate your files, talking about little nifty tricks. And there's loads of them all over the place in this book. Look, copy all layers and stuff. So I like that as well. I like it when books do that. I put here, look, cool. It's set up a bit like Keys to Drawing, but in reverse. So it tells you a checklist. Oh yeah, this is brilliant. So look, basically these colour-coded bits are sort of like chapters really, or mini chapters. And it says, look, In this chapter you will learn how to navigate through Procreate, use gestures to speed up your workflow, undo and redo using gestures and the buttons. So basically it tells you what you're going to learn, and then you go and learn it. Very much like Keys to Drawing but in reverse. So Keys to Drawing by Bert Dodgson, what happened was you studied through the book and at the end it told you what you had learnt. Whereas this way is doing it the other way. I like that, because again what you can do is you can because it's all colour coded, you can look. I can go to another section here, transform. In this chapter I haven't done this yet, but you're going to learn how to use freeform and uniform transform, how to use distort and warp. So what's good about this is it's sort of, well, for me it gets me excited for the chapter, because I'm thinking, oh, I can't wait to learn how to create a new layer, for instance, things like that. So again, I feel like this book, so far at least, it's got a very nice structure and flow to it, and also there's a nice balance between like the learning and actually having to do it yourself. I would say every single page you've got to practice what you're doing. So there's, I would almost say it's maybe a little bit more than 50-50. It's almost like 40% learning, 60% going into the iPad and practicing. So I like that, because you're not stuck in the book all the time, but also you're getting like a nice, I suppose it's like you're getting a break, because if you do something for too long you're going to get a bit worn out. So I like that. What's this here? Look, lovely, easy to follow flow to this book. Yeah, left hand sidebar. Oh yeah, so what happened was there's a little error in this book. Where was it? Page 15 I think it was. They said, they were explaining the left hand sidebar, and they actually said brush opacity is at the top and brush size is at the bottom, but it's actually the other way around. And I thought Procreate had been updated and maybe they hadn't updated, but what's happened is later on they actually tell you the right way. So that's a tiny little error there, but later on there is actually, especially in this bit here, in the brush customization bit, when you go into the iPad, when you go into the Procreate now, if you go into the Customising the Brushes, you can see it looks completely different. They've basically, for me it feels like in the last year, they've sort of completely revamped the way you create brushes. Like the old way, it looked very sort of simple. Now it's called the Brush Studio, almost as if it's an actual like separate piece of software within Procreate. So what I thought to myself is, I'm actually going to have to go and watch a YouTube video about how to create brushes, because this section here, I'll talk about this in a minute, I feel like this bit here where you're customising brushes, for me I feel like this actually should be later on in the book. That was the only little thing I got at the moment, is that was, I feel like that maybe should have come later. Again, I'll talk about it in a minute. The other thing is, when I create a file on here, I can only create a file with 124 layers, which sounds like a lot, but I was thinking, the way I do digital art on the, like when I used to use Photoshop, or even in Clip Studio Paint, I tend to have like hundreds of layers. So I'm probably going to have to change my workflow with Procreate. That's something I've sort of been thinking about. I felt a bit scared getting the iPad out for the first time. Yeah, but excited. When it first asked me to get the iPad out, I got a little bit scared, but I was excited as well. I've put a sexy interface, minimalistic. Yeah, I love the way, look at that, there's nothing on this menu, but yet there's everything on this menu, because it's all done with pop-ups. Oh, and I noticed something here, like you can sort of pull that out, which I like that. So like you can sort of keep that over here and stuff. But this I feel like this interface is maybe perfection. I can't really see how you could improve that. And even little things like being able to sort of fine tune stuff like for me that's brilliant. So I really like the interface. It's made it a lot more easy for me to get into this because I haven't felt overwhelmed. I've put the iPad Pro takes ages to charge. I don't know why, but it does. It takes like a whole day to charge. I've put it can stack my art into folders. So what I've actually done is all of the art that I did before going into this book, I've actually put into this little thing here. So what that means, and what I'll do is, all of these files here, I will put them into another folder or a stack, which will be called week 1. So what I like is it's very easy to sort of arrange all of your artwork. And they talk about in this book that you can actually, they recommend doing like having a folder called work in progress or another one called life drawing. So for me it's very easy to sort of group and arrange and structure all of your artwork. What's this here? Look, back and forth between the book and the iPad. Yeah, it's brilliant. Very good so far from the basics. I like the fact that it's a 50-50 between learning and actually doing. Custom size has changed into an icon. What was that all about? I think this is another thing that's changed. Custom size has changed into an icon. I'm not sure, but this is the thing. There's little things which in the book have changed. So, I don't know what that was. That's if you wanted to create a new canvas. Look, this here, if you want to create a new canvas, you have to click that to get a custom size. Whereas in the book, it was saying something else. Look, in the book it used to be like that. So little things like that are sort of, you can notice how things have changed a bit. Seeing the artist work in the book on the Procreate gallery gets me excited. So what they do in this book, look at this, look, as you're learning things about organising files and stuff, but you're seeing examples of work that the artists that you're going to be learning from have been doing. And I look at it and I'm thinking, I can't wait to be doing stuff like this myself. So even in this phase here where you're just learning, you're also getting inspired. It's almost like hinting at what you might be doing in the future. I want to get to the good stuff. This is exciting me. Yeah, I want to get into the good stuff. There's a part of me that wants to rush to the end to start actually doing drawings, but I got to focus and think. It says here, a bit hard to do the 2-finger gestures like rotating files in the gallery. Well, I can show you one of these that's really hard. So basically, there's this thing where, let's say you've got a load of things like that, you can undo it like that. But they say if you get 3 fingers and scratch it like a DJ, let's see, it does that, see? So it is like that, but for me, it doesn't always work. It's working now, but if I was to sit here and start doing more drawings, well, normally I end up normally like doing this. So some of the gestures I'm finding a little bit hit and miss, I suppose. But I think what it is you've actually got to learn the actual, it's almost like muscle memory or something. You've got to sort of learn where to really put your fingers. So this is why I feel like this quiz is good. One of the quizzes was clear the layer, which is the 3-finger thing. So because I noticed that it was a bit hit and miss, I kept doing it, and actually I kept doing it more and more because I feel like that's something I need to practice more. Whereas the other ones, like, I know I can get that doing. See? Like those ones I'm alright with. Bit hard to do the things. 2 hours 30 I took a sandwich break. But what I've noticed is time is flying by doing this. The other day I thought I'd been on here for about 40 minutes. It ended up being about 2 hours. I couldn't believe how quickly the time had flown. Sometimes I draw in what's this? Sometimes I draw instead of drag. Gestures require practice muscle memory. Yeah, like the clear, that's what I just talked about. I've put here, there's a difference between, this is cool, look. So I said to myself, what's the difference between duplicate and cut and paste? But it makes sense now. Cut and paste. So cut and paste means you would be taking, say, that and pasting it over here. So that would disappear. Duplicate, you're going to copy it. But what I noticed, which is brilliant, duplicate actually create. So if you've got, let's say you've got 1,000 layers. If you duplicate it, it duplicates all those 1,000 layers into one flat layer. That's brilliant, because I thought to myself, if I really did need more than 124 layers, what I could actually do is cut 100 layers from one. I could go in here, I could open up a new one, paste it in here, so I would be starting with one layer, which would actually be 100 layers from the other one, if that makes sense. So I'm starting to think of ways I can get around that limit of layers. That's basically that. So the next day I did it was on the 3rd, because the 2nd of August I actually worked another job, so I didn't do any, I've said I'm going to have Mondays off. So the 3rd of August I've put touch brushes could make you lazy. Yeah, look, what is it here? What is this one? So if you look at this, look, I don't know if you can see this, but when you draw that circle with this brush, it's actually correcting the line to make it smoother. And I thought to myself, that can make you a bit lazy, because instead of actually learning how to draw that line perfectly, you're just going to sort of rely on the software to do it. So what that means is, if you get a piece of paper and you start drawing with an actual pencil, your lines might be really messy and you don't realise it because you think you're drawing lovely lines, but really it's the actual software. So I thought to myself, is it possible that that could make you a bit lazy? Also, yeah, these touch brushes. Look, in here, touch-up brushes. There's one for, well, this one. Let's do this one. So look, if you look at this, look, you can create like hair. So it looks like the illusion of hair. So I thought, is that going to make you lazy? Instead of spending 20 minutes with, say, this one, like doing nice lines and building it up slowly, you're just going to use one of these, which does it quicker. But I thought, is that a good thing or not? I'm not sure. And also, if you do that one, surely what's going to happen is all your characters are going to have the same looking hair. Whereas if you're doing it like this with actual strokes, everything's going to be unique. So, and also other people, if other artists are using this same brush, it means everyone's hair is going to look the same. So I'm not sure whether that's a good thing or not. But it's just something I've been thinking about. Yeah, it feels so good drawing on iPad. It's like traditional, which I'm amazed at. I didn't think it was going to feel like this so soon. I've put almost at one with the canvas. I keep thinking I may accidentally draw on the iPad with one of my fine liners. So as I've been sat here doing my notes, every so often, because if I'm in the middle of doing my notes and I've got to go on here, I keep thinking, what happens if I accidentally start drawing on here with one of these? I wonder if that's happened. And I wonder if you could get it off, or could you damage your screen? I've put here 1 hour 15 minutes flew by on Procreate. So the 4th of August, quiz 1 equals yes. So the quiz what I did was, I had basically just done the chapter where I had to learn about these gestures. So what I did was, 2 days later, I said to myself, before I did anything, what I do is, I've just sat down to do my studying. I haven't looked at anything. So basically, have I remembered how to bring up the delete, duplicate and share menu? And if I have, I tick it. So I managed to get them all there. Like this one here, look. So this is good here, because what happened is, And if you do that, you can do that. But for about, I would say maybe 30 minutes, I couldn't do that for some reason. But again, this goes into that muscle memory thing. You've got to learn the sort of motion, I suppose. Because what I was doing, I don't know, I can't even recreate. I ended up sort of somehow doing that. Like I wasn't able to do that, but. So another one was rearranging the stacks, moving them about, zooming in and out, rotating, moving the canvas, undo and redo, copy and paste menu, clearing the layer, which is that one. That's the only one that's a bit hit and miss with me, and then hiding the layer. So what I'm going to do is, as I'm working through this book, I'm going to keep setting myself little quizzes, because I feel like that's a good way to learn. Because you've got to read about it. You've then got to sort of practice it, but you come back when you haven't been practicing it to see if you've actually remembered it. And it's also fun, and this only takes about a minute. I feel like it's worth it though. More practical / playing than theory. So it's starting to get a lot more playful now. The first sort of chapters of this book was very much about reading and understanding things like what's the difference between PDF files and Procreate files and stuff like that. And then as we've gotten into it, all of a sudden now we've got to start learning like how to actually use the brushes and the difference between all the types of brushes. Yeah, I put lots of cool brushes. Go with one that has no aids or not. So that's that thing about when the line is doing the line for itself. I'm trying to work out if I want to do that or not. Look, you can see it there. It's like self-correcting itself. But I'm not sure if I actually want to be doing that or not. Page 15, that's the thing I talked about. So on the 6th of August, I got the quiz. I got the quiz sorted, so I basically at that point I moved on because I was confident that I've learned how to do each of these things. Modify equal, oh this is brilliant, I love this. This here, look. I'm also playing around with the brushes, I think they're cool. So I like the way the eye picker thing works. So you just you can do that. Oh, this is the other thing as well. See, I'm still using that as if I should be using this. But what they said in the book was this menu is actually intended for your left hand or the hand that you don't draw with. So that's something I've got to learn. Because what happens then is, as long as you've got it in a comfy position, what you can do is I can be sat here drawing. So I'm sat here drawing, and let's say I want pink. Instead of having to go over here and then over here and doing that, all I've got to do is, let's say I'm drawing and I want pink, I just do this. Then I want green. Then I want pink. Then I want green. So all of a sudden, and then you can change the sizes with that finger. And also you can move this thing around so you can actually get it into a place where it's comfortable. So that's something I've got to learn. I've got to learn to actually use that with my left hand instead of using this. When they said about using your left hand with that, it blew my mind. Because I thought, how did I not think about doing that? It just makes everything so much quicker. I've put, look, use sliders with left hand, not the pencil. And I've put, will take practice. Yeah, because I still see this screen as a... I feel like, for some reason, my brain has got it that it's only this hand that can interact with this screen. But it's actually both hands that can interact with it. So that's something I've got to learn. Duplicate brush by quick left gesture. I don't know what that is all about. Menus changed. Yeah, look, they completely revamped the brush menu since this book. Brush customization. Yeah, and I thought, so one of the things, this is the only sort of little negative I've got, I suppose. about the book so far is I'm only on page 34, but they're already talking about customising brushes, and they want you to go away and start creating your own brushes, but I'm not ready to do that yet, and also I don't really want to. I don't really want to learn how to create my own brushes, but they're making me feel like I should be. But for me, I would have put this at the end. That's just me. I want to focus on the menus, playing around with the brushes that come with the package. Because all of a sudden, if you start creating your own brushes, it's a bit overwhelming for me. But what I will say is, I have been playing around with creating my own brushes. Because I've created my own oriental brush. I love this brush. For me, this is like the best one. Well, it's the best one I've found. I like the way it does this. Look how beautiful that is. But I wanted it a bit more watery. So what I did was I changed the water. I changed it, look, see how different it is now? It sort of scrubs in with the colours around it, whereas the default one doesn't. So even though I don't really want to be customising my brushes, I am seeing the power of it. So maybe they do know what they're doing, and they're like, you know what, I know you don't want to learn how to customise brushes, but it's going to be the best thing you ever do. So I'm at this point. This is the bit I got up to. This is where I've ended my current studying. So tomorrow, when I carry on, I've got to ask myself: am I going to carry on with the book, start going into quick shapes, or am I going to spend a few hours playing around with customising brushes? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to do there. Is there anything else I've put here? Yeah, look, I've got to learn how to iPad navigate. So in here, look, this bit here in the book, they said one of the good ways to get custom brushes into Procreate is to open up the Files app, open up Procreate and have them side by side. Now in the book, it just assumes that you know how to do that. But because I'm so new to iPads, I don't actually know how to do that. And I sort of know how to do it now, but I still don't. It's something like this. So look, this is a custom brush set that comes with the book, which apparently if you've got your... See, I don't even know how to get rid of this either. This is the thing, I don't know how to get rid of this screen. It's quite weird, isn't it? Maybe you do that. See, I don't know. So that's the thing. What I'm noticing is this isn't just about learning how to use Procreate. I've also got to learn how to use an iPad. So that's something I've got to look into, because again, this is where I got up to yesterday when I was studying. So what I've got to do is I've got to find a video explaining how to use this thing here where you can get multiple apps up at the same time, because that's brilliant. What you can do is, apparently what they said is, you can drag that brush set into here, and what will happen is all those brushes will be in your Procreate. So that's brilliant. So I've put them all into Dropbox. So all I've got to do is open up the Dropbox app. I'll be able to drag and drop all the brushes in. It's so easy, but it's not easy for me at the minute because I don't know how to bring up these multiple menu things. Again, you don't really know this stuff until you start actually playing around with it. Is there anything else in here I've put? Yeah, like the brush studio is very posh. See, now I don't know how to get rid of that. So the only way I have to do that, which I know is probably not the best way. But what I wanted to say was the brush studio is so very posh. Look at it, look. You've got so many features and things you can do to manipulate the brushes. Again, this is the first bit in this book where I felt a bit overwhelmed. Looking at all these options. A little bit overwhelmed. But that's it really for that. So what I'll do is I'll quickly go through my notes. I'm then going to go through the book and I'll go through some of the artwork I did. So my little notes, the way I study, what I do is, let's say I was studying from this page, what I'd do is I'd sit here and I would just read. What I normally do is I read that. I then get a piece of paper, which I call my rough notes. So I've just read that. What I do is I quickly scribble down my main takeaways from that bit, I then move on to this bit, I scribble out my main takeaways from that bit, I then move on to this bit, and so what I'm doing is I'm reading, I'm scribbling out notes, then what I do is I get a piece of paper and I basically put my rough notes into more cleaner notes, and what that does is, it's what Lee Hammond says about repetition. Repetition is the key to learning. So I'm learning like 3 times here. I'm learning by reading, I'm learning by writing, I'm then learning by copying what I've wrote, and then finally I'm learning by actually doing it. Because then what I do is once I've got me nice notes up, I'll go and practice it in Procreate, at which point I can turn around and say, well, I'm struggling with something here. This is when I put little things like, I need to watch a video for the new Brush Studio tutorial. It's this, I like that. That's just the way I like to study. And what I've also been doing is jotting down super main takeaways for videos, and I've also been making my little quizzes. It's just, I like that. What I'll also be doing is, in the future, when I start creating nicer artwork, I'm going to actually print out the artwork and put it in here. So I will actually start having artwork in here later on. But so look, what I do as well is, as I'm going through the book, if they say something and I think, oh, that's brilliant, like a quote, I'll actually write it in a different colour. So one of the first things I wrote, which I loved, it says, familiarity with the app and plenty of practice are the key to success. So I felt like that's brilliant. So every time I look at my notes now, I remember familiarity with the app and plenty of practice. This is what it goes on about again. Familiarity with the app. That's that thing about rubbing away that you only be able to do that. See, I can't do it there. See, I can only do it when I've actually really got familiar with the motion, the muscle memory of that gesture. I struggle with that one. Going through it, look, and I've put here, repeat until I know each thing without thinking. I like the way the book's got these little icons as well. We'll go through that in a minute. Basically, what I'm just going through, picking out the things I think's quite, look, organising your gallery. I love this bit. I started thinking I could have a gallery called Little Dennis, which is just full of little Dennis works. So it's cool, it is. It is very cool. So that's basically what I've done so far on that. So if we look at the book, let's have a look at this book for a minute. What I'll do is I'll go through each bit. I'll go through it very quickly. So where are we? We're here, look. We've got up to this bit. I've actually got quite a long way in a short period of time. What I've also noticed is you don't actually have to spend a lot of time in the book. Like I said, I'm sure it's about 70% is actually in Procreate, which makes it a lot more of a fun experience to be learning. But look, you can see the sort of things you're dealing with. Look how cool these characters are. Like when I'm seeing things like that, in this one, I get so excited. So it's talking about the user interface. It goes right back to the very basics, which is what I needed. And I'm so happy. It talks about creating a canvas, but not just creating a canvas. But it talks about all the different types of files and stuff. It talks about sharing your stuff, so like you can back up your files. And it is really, look, an example, look at this, look. Let's put it here, look. As Procreate is a local format of your app, you should export it in this file type if you intend to open a file in Procreate again. And then it talks about like JPEGs and PNGs. So it's very in depth, but look how little that bit of information is. They've managed to squish lots of information into little bits of, which I like that. This book's very easy to understand, which I think is quite a complex quite a complex topic. I'm really fascinated to see how it's going to get on later on when you start doing really hard things. Are they still going to be able to keep it very easy for someone like me to understand? Gestures. So we're getting into the gestures now. So you got basically, the thing with this is, it even said it somewhere. If you don't, there's a beautiful quote in here about gestures. It said if you don't get your head around these gestures, you're not going to be very good with Procreate, something like that. It wasn't like that. Where is it? Look, gestures are essential when working in Procreate. With these simple gestures, you can reposition your artwork as intuitively as if you were working on a piece of paper. That's the thing. If you don't get your head around the gestures, you're going to be so limited. I didn't realise how significant gestures were with Procreate, really. Got your copy and paste menu. I love the way, again, these gestures, what it does is it means you can do a lot of things quickly. You don't have to be sort of moving around the screen trying to find where's the cut and paste options. It's there whenever you want it. Then we're going into the brushes. So they basically, this was the best bit. I'll show you in a minute the images. What they wanted you to do was just play with all the brushes. It was cool. See, this was fun. This is where the time just flew by, because I was sitting here playing with all these brushes. And you start getting excited because you think, this brush here, which is doing this sort of effect, that's going to be brilliant. And then you want to try it for yourself to see if, and then so you're sort of getting excited. Talking about size and opacity, talks about positioning that sidebar. Again, this is something that's a bit hard for me. You have to push your finger on there and pull it across or something. But again, it doesn't really work with me. See? There, look. But that's one of the. This is one of the gestures. This is how you move it around. But this is one of those gestures that's. It's a bit hit and miss. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or what. But sharing your brushes, how to import brushes, creating new brushes. I haven't actually done that bit yet. And the brush customization. What I did was I actually accidentally I turned the page and went to this chapter before this bit. So this is actually the last bit I did yesterday, when the time ran out. So when I start again tomorrow, I'm going to be playing around with creating a new brush and also customizing the brushes. But I'm not sure if I want to do that. Like I said earlier, it's not really something I want to be spending a lot of time with. But this is the things I've been doing so far. So I created a little Peter, little Peter the penguin. I think he's cool. And then I was just playing around with Peter the Penguin's logo. Now, this is like, what I was doing here was, I was practicing cutting and pasting. So what I did was I created that little circle and then cut and pasted it, or copied it, or duplicated it, and made it bigger. That's the sort of little things I've been doing. Then here I was just playing around with shapes, again, playing around with like copying and pasting things. And just getting a general feel for how the pencil felt to work with. This is another little Peter. What I was doing here was I was sort of experimenting with putting the colour behind the lines. So I was sort of playing around with the layers, even though I shouldn't be, because the book. This is when I started trying to mix colours, and I was thinking I'm not really liking the way this is working. So that's something I've got to put a lot of time in, because what I want to do is I want to get to a place where I can say put a bit of pink down here, and then say, oh, look at this as well. I love this. Hey, I didn't know you could do that. I want to get this here. The one of these is brilliant. Is it this one? Yeah, look at this one. Look, I love this one. So when you put your colour over there, it gives you the complementary colour. How cool is that? So look, you got, but what I want to do is I want to get to a place where I can have, like, say your blue there, this red here, but I want to get to a place where I can sort of somehow, like, mix these colours together. It's sort of doing it, but it's not behaving the way I want to, and I can't quite explain it. So I feel like that is something that you would have to play around with the brush customization. But I can tell this is going to take ages, because you're going to have to really sort of play around with that for a long time. But I love the sort of effects you're getting there. I can see how powerful this is going to be. So what I did here was I took the 6B pencil and I just sort of played around with it, different sizes. I tell you what I do love. I love the way this pencil feels like a pencil. Like the way you can sort of put it on its side and feels like you're actually working with a proper pencil. The pen pressure on this thing is perfection. So again, it gets me excited because I'm thinking, when I get my head around this fully, I'm just going to be able to pick this thing up and actually draw as if I'm using a sketchbook. Little Peter. Peter's a general theme for this week, I think. This was a brush called the Nico. I like this one, but it wasn't my favourite in the end. We then got this airbrush. What I was doing here was I was experimenting with mixing a soft brush, 2 colours on that, and 2 colours on a hard brush. Just mixing colours. This was the touch-up. This was the playing around with the touch-up thing. This is just playing around with loads of different brushes all at once. But there's something quite cool about that, I thought. What's this here? Oh, this was quite a cool thing. What I did was I went through the entire inking brush set and I tried each one to see which one I thought was the best. I picked my favourite 3 because I put little things on them. I picked my favourite 3, and then what I did was I took those favourite 3 and I tried to draw a little Peter the Penguin with each one to see which one gave me the results I liked the best. So the one that gave me the best results was the Studio pen, but the thing is, the technical pen, I think it's a technical pen, the technical pen has got no correction. So it means if I draw that and it's wibbly wobbly, it's going to be wibbly wobbly. The Studio pen, if I draw it wibbly wobbly, it's going to straighten it up. So that gives me the better results, but I think it might make me a bit lazy. So I'm tempted to actually use brushes which have got no correction on them. I'm not sure. And then I also played around with the, what was these? I think these were the painting ones. So I did the same thing with all the painting brushes. Again, picked my favourite 3 or 4. And then what I did was I basically took my favourite Peter the Penguin and I tried colouring him in with the 3 of my favourite painting brushes. Give different effects. And I ended up thinking this one was my favourite, the Oriental brush, for the moment. But and then what I did was I created a little Peter the Penguin. It's quite cool. I like him, I do. I can see how it's very thingy, but and then, oh, this is cool. This is when I started realising I could get the complementary colours. Again, I think to myself, how amazing is this going to be in the future? If I'm creating a piece of artwork and I like this colour, I've instantly got a colour that goes with it. And then all of a sudden you can start sort of fine-tuning it a little bit. Stuff like that. So what's happening at the moment, I think, is I'm getting excited about the future. Again, I'm trying to get good at mixing colours because I want this to behave like paint. This was me again trying to mix 2 colours to get an effect I liked. And then what I did here was I sort of created a little Sophie, a little fat one, And I was sort of thinking, how would it actually work with an outfit to mix the colours? That's one simple brush. I think it was that one, like that. Was it like that? See, I can't remember now. But there was oh wait, how was it? Oh, I can't remember. There was a way to do that with one brush stroke. What's this here? This is just, I think that's just something else. But that's basically it. So you can see I'm not really doing anything amazing at the minute, but this is more like just fun. And it's making me excited for the future, because I can already see the power of this software. And I'm loving this book. So next week we'll be looking at things like colour, palettes, value, layers. This will be interesting. I'm excited for that, looking at the layers. Blend modes. I know nothing about blend modes. Clipping masks. So we're going to start getting a little bit more advanced now, next week. And that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, this one's very messy, this one. But as I move forward, I'm going to get these a lot more structured. It's just at the moment I'm thinking about a lot of things. It's all very exciting. But I hope you enjoyed that, and I shall see you later for another one.